Welcome to the Salt Stands Alone podcast. My name is Hank. I stand alone. I am here by myself, and I'm going to talk about Magic the Gathering. Specifically, I'm going to do a little retrospective on 2025 and Magic the Gathering because Ace told me to. So blame him. First of all, I just want to say that overall, this was a great year of Magic the Gathering for me personally. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering, and I had a great time doing it. Which is, I don't know, it feels a little controversial. I feel like the community is always pretty fucking pissy. And increasingly so for good reason. As, enshittification happens or whatever, the universe beyond bloat, etc., etc. But, ultimately, the thing that matters is, am I having fun playing the game? Am I finding ways to enjoy the game? A double yes. So it's actually thumbs up for me, despite Hasbro's looming threat. Encroaching malice, whatever you want to say. And I want to say that's distinct from 2024, because 2024 is when I hit my low point with Magic since Arena happened. Since Ixalan, pretty much. Where I didn't like any of the formats on Arena. I really the alchemy thing really fucked up a bunch of them for me. So I didn't, Historic, I was bleh, Brawl, bleh. It was the first time I was like, I felt the pain of like, am I gonna fucking quit this game? And then I discovered, I just rediscovered, or I got into Gladiator, and it kind of transformed my relationship with Magic in that now the primary thing I care about is Gladiator, which is a pretty fucking niche format that's community run, which is 100 card arena only singleton. And it's the primary lens through which I see Magic these days, because I'm not playing Commander a whole lot. And I'm even, I would say I'm down on Commander too, is also part of it. I'm just not that, it's just not that interesting to me currently. We'll talk about what formats I do care about later. I might be having that date a little wrong. I was going off when I started playing regularly, but now that I think about it, maybe it was a little earlier than that. When did I first play Gladiator? Because it might have been 2023 when I really felt it. I don't know. Because it's not till 2024 that I started playing Gladiator like every week. There was right as I got into it, there was a bug with direct matches, but that's back in 2023. That's like 2 years ago now. So I'm a little iffy. But the big thing is that a turnaround for me was before Modern Horizons 3, and then Modern Horizons 3 I think it must have been 2023 when I was at my lowest point, actually. I think it had to be. I can't remember. But Modern Horizons 3 is such a bomb. It's such a nuclear event in Magic, because that set is, every card in that set is so powerful that it going forward, like every Eternal format is really defined by Modern Horizons 3 cards in a way that sucks. Like if you like old cards, a lot of stuff became much less viable because that stuff was just too strong. In a way that, like, the first two Modern Horizons sets were strong, but Modern Horizons 3 was like a whole new level of just wiping shit out. But in the context of me already being in Gladiator when that happened, it did also, reshape Gladiator. But when you're talking about Singleton, I know you're talking about a Singleton format that was underpowered for the level of Magic I like, if I'm being real. Modern Horizons 3 in that format actually got that format where I enjoyed it more because it got it closer to the level of Magic that I want to be playing. Which is closer to something like, two of my favorite formats to watch content for, Canadian Highlander and Gladiator, which are formats where you play Moxen. I like high-powered Magic, ultimately. So, I'm not a fan. I don't share the community's thing of the time, the wistful thinking back to a time when Magic was weaker. Usually when Magic did those Magic would regularly do these shifts where the power level would spike and then it would go back down. And those valleys where the power level would go back down are usually the times where I quit. So, having gone through it before, that's the time when I'd quit. So this new thing where they're really trying not to do that because it kind of, people stop buying cards. But now the power creep eternally going up is more of a problem. Anyway, but I say all to say to put into a little bit of context what I mean when I say it was a great year for me. I had fun. And the fun. So really, the thing that kicks off the year, I should talk about first, was me sending Ben a bunch of my bulk, which, based on looking at my YouTube channel for when these videos was about the start of the year. And so, to anyone who doesn't know or doesn't remember, what I did was I went through my old bulk boxes, which are, it's the same way they've been since I was a kid. And I just basically no rares in them. It's commons and uncommons, organized by colors in some boxes. And I went through and I did streams where I streamed some of it. I didn't stream it the first time I did it, I think, but I streamed most of it. And it was just, looking at old cards and enjoying the stuff that I have that I do feel an attachment to. I've had it for a long time. But it's, it's dog shit. It's trash. And they're not cards that you're going to put in any decks. You're just, I like looking at the art, but, and I'm like, what are you going to sell them? They're not worth, these are not cards that are worth any money. They're not good. And so I went through and I pulled out every card that I had at least an extra copy of that printing. and I sent that stuff to Ben while he was still in America, and so at the time. And I kind of rekindled, and the fun of it was getting to rekindle a friend, share these cards with someone who would care about them, and rekindle the love of Magic in a friend, a buddy, to talk about this stuff, and like, and to go and going through the cards was fun. I got to re-enjoy the first time, and then re-enjoy them the second time when he streamed going through them again. Like, just, that's so much value. So much joy value in out of this old cardboard. So that was a lot of fun in terms, that's a big deal in terms of just, loving this thing, loving Magic the Gathering. Like, what I love about Magic goes beyond playing of the games. But playing of the games is the way I would engage with it on a day-to-day basis. So I would like that part to be fun too. But, enjoying the art, enjoying the flavor text. Old cards. Back when I would look through a booster pack and just love every card that I opened. Which is not a thing that holds up in new sets. When I open a new booster pack, unless it's a mystery booster pack, which are incredible. And it's kind of one of the things that got me thinking about this, because the act of opening those packs is so fun, whereas the act of opening a normal pack doesn't spark joy. It's not it's not a strong enough hit. I need a harder drug to feel things. What were we talking about? Anyway. Yeah, so dog shit. It's good. Old cards that aren't good, they're good. But let's talk about a little bit about, I also opened my second box of Mystery Booster 2 a little shortly after that, which I'll just throw in here because I just want to talk about how much fun that product is to open, as like just looking at cards. It gives me the joy of like every card is just, this is cool that this is here. It's so fun, which is not a thing a new set is ever going to fucking give me. Like, even the best sets, it's not going to be that good. So that's fun stuff. For a jaded old man. But let's talk about the way I enjoyed Magic the most currently, this past year and going forward, which is Gladiator. Arena 100 card singleton. And it's so fun. I love it. And I know, and it's interesting because it's a much different format than it was when it was created, when they started it at the beginning of the pandemic. And I remember sort of vaguely hearing about it at the start of that and poo-pooing it completely, going, that's not interesting to me. And the thing is, that format wouldn't have been that interesting to me at that time because the power level of stuff was so much lower. And I like high power level stuff. So it actually wasn't for me at that time. the fact that it's now like insane because, we get really strong. We've got most of the good new cards. Like, there are some commander only cards that we don't have that get played in Canadian Highlander, but also we're getting cube cards all the time now, which is the real big thing. Is like, we get now Arena's been doing these like dumps of just insanely high power level cards, whether it was through, and Strixhaven was I think where it started in terms of the bonus sheet cards coming to Arena that were mainly, they put them on Arena for Brawl. Because Brawl's a very popular format. I don't like the consistency that having a commander in 1-on-1 gives you. That's not really for me. I get too bored. I don't like the punctuation mark that it makes on your deck. I like it to be I like the randomness of Singleton. In 1-on-1 specifically. I think in multiplayer, Commander is pretty good. I like it. But again, I came around on liking Commanders. My multiplayer game of choice was 60 card, not Singleton. So, I don't know. I'm a dinosaur. When it comes to this game. But yeah, so this year was the first year coming in where I'm playing the whole season from the start of the season through the year. And it was the first year in a while where we had... Okay, so I should back up for a second. Part of the thing that I love about Gladiator that keeps me in it is the Discord runs a leagues, like competitive events, and complete with point tracking throughout the year and seasonal, like, culminating events. And if I'd known that these existed back when Gladiator started, I probably would have been much more into it. Because actually, what I like, CCGs, collectible card games. The thing that I like is of a CCG is casual competitive gaming. I love being able to take a thing just that extra level more seriously, feeling like, I'm trying to get better and doing it, but also it doesn't matter and it's not that serious. Like, there aren't people doing it for money. We're here to have fun, and it's not like been mathematically solved or whatever. Like, there aren't people who are just trying to... Well, there are people who are trying to solve it, but it's the fact that it's a smaller community helps. I don't know. That there's still expression for... There's a lack of efficiency in the stuff. I don't know. I don't know the right way to put it to why I like this more than I like standard or whatever. Or timeless. I guess timeless would specifically be the one because that's on Arena. It's competitive. They had a competitive event recently, but that format's just kind of fucking miserable, in my opinion. It really needs force of will or something. I don't know. It's like, because it's such a Thoughtseize format, I guess is the issue. I don't know. It doesn't create kinds of magic that I like, I find. And there was a window where I was enjoying Timeless, um, just about a year ago, I guess. Uh, when you could play when I hit Mythic with Belcher, but mm, uh, yeah, Belcher's just not good enough anymore. It got that much more power crept currently, I would say. Yeah, when you're getting grief reanimate is just a fucking when you're getting grief reanimated every game, it's a pisser. I don't know. And also like there early on in Timeless, there was a time I was just jamming Merfolk even though it wasn't good, and that was fun. And now that's so far away from playable. Like God. uh. Hmm. What was I saying? Yeah. Gladiator. It exists. It's fun. And I want to talk about the decks I had the most. Well, I guess I should talk about what happened with Gladiator this past year. Let's give some history. So, right, tournament structure. That's what I was talking about. So we have events, but in 2024 or 2023 to 2024, there was this bug on Arena where direct match was fucking broken, and it kind of destroyed their ability for the community to run these events. So they were on hiatus, and they came back, and then I found out they came back a little bit after that, and that's when I really started playing regularly in 2024. Was when I knew that bug was fixed. And you could direct challenge people again. And yeah, having this thing where I'm building decks for a defined metagame for events that I can enter. Well, there's no fucking that I'm not paying to enter. Really fun for me. Just like great, because I get the pressure's off. I can just try and build a thing that I think will work in this moment and run with that. And that's fun. I like the brewing. I like the playing. It's a lot of fun in a way that's different from, at a level that's more rewarding than grinding a ladder or whatever. Is having a thing you're building towards that. Like I'm test decks to play in these events because there is a meta that I care about. Caring about a meta, caring about making your deck strong for particular reasons. And not like in an amorphous blob, which I feel like is what happens with why Commander has not done it for me, is that kind of deck building, which I describe as the best way to do it, is like being a DM, a dungeon master or whatever, for a tabletop game where you're trying to present threats for the table, problems for the table to solve so that you can all have a good time. That's a different kind of thing, in my opinion. Whereas trying to destroy another human being and make them miserable is a different, like, the way I've describing it. You want to do as much psychic damage to your opponent as much as you're trying to win the game. You want to make them concede is your win condition as much as making their life total zero is how I really feel about competitive Magic when I'm having fun. Yeah. Control. We'll play blue-white control. Over here. It's not the only thing I play, but I will have a good time doing it. Anyway. So yeah, and like having everyone be on the same page about that. It's just playing against the same people a lot, and like being part of a small community and learning those players and their tendencies and the decks they like. That's all been great, and it's a thing that I only got into because it's a small format that doesn't have a queue. So I don't like. There's the always the thing of like this format exists. Oh, it should get a queue. A queue would be good if the format is popular enough that the queue fires all the time, right? But if it's not popular enough for a queue to fire all the time, having a dedicated place where you can go to just find people who want to play most of the time. That's all I need. I don't need more than that, so I'm pretty satisfied, which I think is the important thing to me, and having fun with this game. But yeah, so this was 2025, the first year where I'm playing from the start of the year, and where there are going to be multiple events over the year that are going to be a little shorter. Because 2024 there were events, and it all culminated in a big event that was kind of just like adding up everything that had happened in the amorphous time where the future was uncertain because of that stupid bug. And it was like the longest season ever. So like I had enough points to qualify for that tournament because I had been playing for a long time, but I wasn't there from the start. So this was the first year I was there from the start, and my goal was I knew I could play in every event, so I would have a much better chance to rack up overall leaderboard points, or maybe not every event, but most events. I think I did play in every single one. I don't think I missed any. I would have a really good chance to rack up points if I could perform at a above average or average level. That I should be able to top that leaderboard. And I did. Over the course of this year, I played a shitload of Gladiator, and I accrued more points off wins than anybody else. That didn't end up mattering. I ended up qualifying for the big year-end tournament in a different way, because of the way that the seasonal tournaments give you 2 qualifiers, but it slides down if people are already qualified and the best players are, making it far in the tournament multiple times. So it slid down to me after winning a round in the season 3. And that was how I got my qualification. But anyway, I liked accruing all those points. I played more competitive Gladiator, more competitive Gladiator than anybody. And I had and I won enough. Whatever. I had an over 50% win rate. Not the best, but pretty good. I know a lot about the format. I was boots on the ground with the format. I knew what was happening every week or whatever. When ban announcement has happened, I'm like, well, that would have been a good ban announcement like 2 months ago. But things have shifted a little. That kind of annoying knowledge. So bans. Let's talk about bans. At the start of 2025, some bans were announced, and it was Mana Drain, Treasure Cruise, Ajani, 2-mana Ajani, and Ajani Nakato Pariah, and Psychic Frog. And those were pretty good bans, I would say. particularly Psychic Frog and a Johnny, are just fucking heinous Magic cards. Those are the two card. Those three of these cards are still banned today. Mana Drain being the other one. Mana Drain was kind of a bummer because it does make the control decks noticeably worse. The blue-white control in Gladiator, I still think, is actually short on 2 mana hard permission in general. Like, I would fucking just kill for another counterspell. I don't, like, obviously Mana Drain is fucking an egregious Magic card. But just having counterspell too was really important for that deck. And it misses it, so we got some other stuff, but we got Mana Leak, we got Miscalculation. We've got Force Spike now. Stuff helped, but I did initially losing Mana Drain did hurt my desire to play blue-white control, I will say. Just because of second counterspell kind of thing. Beyond, like, the fact that it's obviously an absurd Magic card and I get banning it. And Treasure Cruise got banned because, you know, it was they decided it was time to ban one of those. But Dig was still legal. You could still play Dig. Which is always weird to me, because, like, the banning one of those, it was like when those cards happened, because those cards happened at the same time, it was always a weird thing of, like, hey, when you take action on one of these, and then the other just exists, and you've kind of just made the other one clearly better. But Dig never needed to be banned. Actually, because in Gladiator, actually, the 2 blue mana thing ends up being a big deal. Just because of, you know, splashing multiple colors. Getting to 2 blue, a little harder. Your multicolor decks were not really trying to hit 2 blue. Was a thing. So that was a good choice, I would say. Yeah, I was pretty not thrilled, because it meant a deck that I wanted to play was worse, and felt a little not where I wanted to be currently at the moment at the start of the year. But I was pretty happy, and I started the year playing this brew that I had that was Bant, that was based on where, you know, Mana Drain was really good in that deck. It was based on Manifest Dread cards and, like, flicker effects. So, you know, you try to get and there's an alchemy card, Verdant Dread, that's 2 mana and Manifest Dreads. So you look at the top 2 cards, you pick one of them, you put it face down, morph, or like as a 2/2. But then you can pay 5 mana and make another Verdant Dread, and each Verdant Dread triggers all your Verdant Dreads or whatever. So it's this crazy mana sink if you have a lot of mana. But on curve, it's just a 2 mana 2/2. That card's cool. It's fun. Though it is a scary sink. It's an enchantment that then becomes more copies of itself, so it can be hard to deal with. You have to spot removal it early, or it's kind of over. But as with all things in Gladiator, it doesn't matter how strong your cards are. If mono red can still just fucking kill you, and throughout all of 2025, mono red could still just fucking kill you. So none of the And none of the ban announcements ever banned anything from mono red. So a lot of my feeling about the format was just like, mono red's still just fucking murdering people, no matter what you do. There's so many red cards, and they'd only got better. Like you've got Ragavan and Fury, and red only got better over the course of this year, which is kind of telling to where we wound up at the end of the year. Was like the main driving force to me. If mono red can still just fucking kill you, your format's not that unhealthy. You're not that degenerate. Now, there was a window last year where there was a window this year. It was this year, I think. Yeah, where we did get homogenous for a little bit. But also we were kind of organically getting out of it anyway. That was the meta that we ended up in for a while. Let's talk about it now. Was Abzan meta, where these 3 animator decks, like using unearth effects, helping hand, that just really took advantage of the graveyard as a value engine and got to take advantage of all the powerful white cards like Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls and Solitude. And then you had Emperor of Bones and whatnot, all this stuff. Jet Collector, Alchemy card, extremely good. Just like a burning engine that, because of stuff like God of Souls, is extremely hard to, you're also gaining life. You have like this recovery element to it. And and those decks were just literally the best thing to do, clearly, for a chunk of the beginning of this year. Last year, the clear best deck was Jeskai. And this year, I don't think Jeskai was ever the best deck at any point this year, which is kind of wild. Because in Canadian Highlander, Jeskai is still the best thing to do. Like, there are so many good... Like, the deck did... It's not that the deck got worse or anything, really. It's just, like, everything else got better. In a way that which the... Yeah. You were just able to outgrind them in a way that their one-for-one answering your stuff was not good enough. Which is interesting. It was interesting that, like, the best deck of last year just was never the best deck this year. And it's really just, banning a Johnny, banning Mana Drain, like, and a Johnny is a huge part of it. Honestly. Of what made it not the best thing. Mana Drain Kritriku is also helping. Anyway, let's talk about some set releases. Because the first set, Aether Drift, had a very important card in it, and I would call it my card of the year. my favorite card to play and deck build around from 2025, Bright Glass Gearhulk, which is 4 mana for a 4/4 trample first strike. Gearhulk that when it enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for up to 2 artifact, creature, and or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less, and put them into your hand and then shuffle. So the way most people played this card at first is just give me Guide Pride. Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls. These 2/1/1 creatures that combo from Modern Horizons 3 that go and do insane things together. It's wild that they were in the same set. Even more wild, they were in the same set with a Johnny who just supercharges them also. But whatever. Bright Glass Gearhulk is basically second Ranger Captain Vios, which is a 4 mana 3/2 that gets you 2 creatures. Bam. Just another one of those, right? At minimum, that's what Bright Glass Gearhulk was. It would also grab your Giver of Runes or whatever. But the thing that playing with it more and more, the thing I realized is that Bright Glass Gearhulk is absurd. And being able to get enchantments and artifacts on a creature that you can then, put in creature tutors in your deck for, it makes your deck an incredible toolbox machine, right? And so I really pushed the deck building with getting as many, 1-drops as I could. And the really interesting stuff is, so the first key one that pushed me is Mockingbird from Bloomburrow, which is X and a blue, so it qualifies as a 1 mana thing, and you pay in whatever to X, and then Mockingbird can become a copy of a thing you control that has mana value equal to the mana value spent on the Mockingbird. So if you're copying a 4-drop, you're paying 4 mana. To copy your Bright Glass Gearhulk, you're paying 4 mana. So being able to play Bright Glass Gearhulk and play a thing that then copies your Bright Glass Gearhulk, or playing your Ranger Captain of Vios and giving a thing that gives you a second Ranger Captain of Vios, or a second regular Ranger of Vios, or whatever. Like that power of that, incredibly intoxicating. On top of Recruiter of the Guard being in Gladiator, where you can find 2-drops. So the main thing that I jammed over and over this year to great success are these, and it was sort of my answer to the Abzan meta of these green, black, and white decks that were just grinding people into dirt. Well, also it started as my answer to Sultai. So it's two things. It's both my answer to Abzan, but also my answer to Sultai in terms of adding white. And cutting out most of the graveyard synergies, because the way you fight those Abzan decks is you go all in on graveyard hate. And Sultai was doing some stuff with the graveyard too. There's like this card that let you like tutor stuff to your graveyard. It was really good. Like graveyard synergies have been extremely powerful in Gladiator. Reanimator, one of the best decks. But not really. It's hard to say it's the best deck because people figured it out, and you have to play Graveyard Hate. You have to load up on Graveyard Hate. And but Bright Glass Gearhulk, you can get Ghost Vacuum. It's great. And basically the thing is playing into these creature synergies, and minimizing your reliance on the graveyard, so you're less weak to the graveyard hate, but still playing a lot of graveyard hate. And there's a card that we got this year from Alchemy Tarkir that sort of reinforced this, which is Oasis of Renewal, which lets you, when it comes into play, you seek a land and a non-land, and whenever a card is removed from your graveyard on your turn, whenever it's removed from your graveyard, once per turn for each of these, for a land or a non-land, you seek a card that's a land or a non-land. And that card even turbocharged this deck because it makes all your graveyard hate, it lets you really load up on your graveyard hate, because then your graveyard hate becomes a value engine for you in the games where you need to grind through stuff. Sort of the deck building theory on this deck as it evolved throughout the year. This Moist Abzan or Sultai plus white deck that's really extremely heavy on creatures. So you're just deploying threats against some of the slower decks. And it's, the deck I played the most this year, a deck I had the most success with, in that I went I got like 7 3-0s with it on weeklies. And I don't think I 3-0'd. I just, towards the end of the year, I started playing tried to play like a different deck every day or whatever, just to play different stuff. But in the heart of it, when I was like grinding when I, had a go-to deck, this was the deck. This Bright Glass Gearhulk thing. And the other thing that really turns your Bright Glass Gearhulk into a machine is stuff like Unable to Scream, or Static Prison, which are these 1 mana removal spells that you can find off Gearhulk. And that's like primo to me, to where you can find exactly what you need off Bright Glass every time or whatever. Like it's just getting you exactly what you need. And the deck building of like pushing myself to more 1-drops, that's just good. That deck building process has been really fun for me over the course of this year. Now, at a certain point, midway through the year, there was another ban announcement, and God of Souls got banned, which was aimed at these Abzan decks. Although, my frustration was the Abzan meta had kind of been naturally broken up, like a bit before the ban announcements happened. Because one of the problems with Gladiator, in terms of taking the event results too seriously, is it's a small sample size, and it's extremely determined by who shows up to events. So if you have the players who like playing Abzan showing up, it's going to be Abzan meta. If the red players are not able to make it, there's just less mono red running around, format just looks different. It just has a different shape. So that's a real thing that can happen. And it makes, bans a little weird, a little awkward to me. But this ban announcement was a little more. They banned 6 cards, and it was a little more aggressive in terms of trying to shape the format, trying to tamper things down. So it was trying to hit Abzan and banning Guide of Souls. And I will say, Guide of Souls getting banned was like you could see it coming because of these Ranger Captain Vios and Bright Glass Gearhulk decks. You just saw Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride of absurd number of games. Whether or not it was the best thing to do, which it was, and then it was a very strong thing. It was one of the best things to do, clearly. But there were also really good decks that wouldn't play it. Blue Control, Wrath of God Control got really good again. That red decks were always good. I feel like there was something else that I'm blanking on. But the main point is that some of the other cards that got banned. So Solitude was a big one, which is you're banning a piece of removal. Which is risky. And then this alchemy card, Tajik, was also banned. And that one was kind of silly to me at the time, because it's 4 mana, Legion's Valor, and it is a 1/1 indestructible that then gets a +1/+1 counter every turn, and you conjure a specific creature with mana cost equal to its power every time. But the thing is, that card has to build up over a course of turns, and that's not the gameplay pattern that I'm worried about, because you're still in a game that is taking multiple turns and grinding out. What I was worried about were the games where you just die before your turn 4. Personally. That's what I'm concerned with. So they banned Tajik, and they also banned this alchemy card, Tasha, which is also 4 mana. And this one's annoying because Tasha Unholy Archmage, which is extra annoying because it has the art of a paper card that is like 6 mana, I think. No, they're 5 mana. And it's just a wildly different card, but it has the same art as this alchemy card. But I've played so much more with this alchemy card. The alchemy card seems like the real card to me, and the paper card seems fake because I've never seen that card played. It can be your commander. Whatever. And Tasha is a card that hurt Jeskai, which I guess, I don't know. It was like an Esper card in a world where Esper was not the best thing to be doing. So that one was weird to me. It was also good against decks that weren't the decks that I was playing, I guess. Of like heavy aggro decks. I don't know. I had other ways to beat those decks. Oh, that was a weird ban to me. People didn't like it. People thought that card was too strong. And also they banned Invert Polarity, which only really saw play in Blue-Red, which wasn't one of the best. Again, it saw play in Blue-Red, which was one of the best decks, and it saw play in Jeskai, which also was not the best deck. But you're taking down the best deck. You want to hit. You don't want just the next thing. My big problem with this was it seemed like they were trying to solve the format all at once. You know, like, we're banning this, so let's ban this. We're banning Solitude, but then that makes maybe Tajik is then too scary, so let's ban Tajik too. I just didn't like that approach, but I'm sure there are logistical... Getting a ban list off the ground involves logistical stuff behind the scenes that I'm not privy to that are probably more annoying, and that whole process is much slower than me thinking about, what should be banned. This is the problem card. We just banned this one, and then see what the deal is. Like, then figure it out. Don't try to solve it all at once. It's the approach I would prefer. I think that would work better than this approach of they banned 6 cards all at once. It seemed not great. And they banned... And Emperor Bones was the other one they banned. Which is a little iffy to me just in terms of that card's absurd, but it's technically also really good against the Reanimator decks. So it's not exactly just a hurt the Reanimator decks. Black decks that could just play it for free, and then it was a good way to fight the Reanimator decks. So, you know. But it was also a big hit to Abzan, which had been the bugaboo, but wasn't a bugaboo by the time they got this across the door, but was the bugaboo when they were building this list or whatever. Stuff is hard. So yeah, that happened. And my main frustration continued to be that ban announcement did not seem to make more people show up to the events. Like, we definitely had a summertime, around this time, lull in event attendance. We had a bunch of events that had to have for the rest of the year. We had a bunch of events that had to be cut around short, or in a couple cases outright canceled because not enough people signed up. And that's the thing I hate the most. That's the thing that frustrates me the most. And if you're, making a big change like this, I would hope it would be one to excite people. The thing I want is people to be excited to play Gladiator so that I can play Gladiator. That is what I care about. And this didn't seem to have that effect. Regardless of any of the good reasons why any particular move was made. Those were the effects. It didn't seem to make people more excited to play now that these cards were gone. Did I miss a set in there somewhere? What sets came out? So Aether Drift, Tarkir Dragonstorm, which had a bunch of cards that made an impact for sure, but nothing that I grabbed onto as strongly, I'll say. Just that was a solid set. It wasn't bad. I wasn't that excited about it, but it did have a bunch of cards I played with, and I've enjoyed playing with since. I would say that's the thumbs up on that set. Then there was Final Fantasy, which was a big deal. And that, I think the biggest deal for me when that one is Cloud, because Cloud is Stoneforge Mystic number 2, so now you can really play an artifact package because you've also got Recruiter of the Guard to find those guys, and that becomes a real another toolbox thing that you can do that I'm excited to brew around. So that's definitely real. And I experimented with different one drop equipments, lava spur boots being a big one, and there's an alchemy one that gives you card advantage. What's that card called? Tome of Gadwick, where you equip it on a thing. It gets +1 attack. It's 1 mana. It's 1 blue mana to play, 1 colorless to equip, and you put it on a thing, and when it attacks, you get a random cantrip in your hand. And I guess the other thing I should say about these Bright Glass Gearhulk decks that I'm playing blue on is the other big part of them is a thing that I've somehow talked all the way around, is that they're also Nadu decks. And Nadu is a big part of those decks too. Having a Nadu package is a big part of it. You play Bristly Bill, you play Scythecat Cub. Just to have this other, thing your deck can do on top of the it's a hat on a hat kind of stuff. Playing the good cards. And the interesting thing about the Guide of Souls ban is that it was definitely impactful, but also I just played a lot more Soul Warden, and Soul Warden Ocelot Pride was still pretty freaking good and worth doing. And that was great, because it meant that card, Guide of Souls, got banned, and its most egregious play patterns were gone, but a lot of the fun of it was still there for me. The Bright Glass Gearhulk, that part of Bright Glass Gearhulk where you're flooding the board a bit with creatures and getting some life sometimes, was still a viable option. If anything, it made the other lines, like grabbing Deathrite Shaman Mockingbird, was kind of my go-to most of the time for the first Bright Glass Gearhulk. Like Ocelot Pride, Soul Warden being your second Bright Glass Gearhulk pull, very good still. Your deck was worse at just fucking killing people. Which, that's fine. Except if they kill you. Yeah. So yeah, Final Fantasy was fun, and I had a lot of fun doing, and I won booster boxes of Final Fantasy playing Final Fantasy Sealed on Arena. So that was sick. Winning a collector booster of Final Fantasy playing Sealed was sick, because that's just more. It's a testament to that Sealed format really clicking with me. That limited Final Fantasy as a limited set was, I think, really good. Outside of how it affected a standard or whatever, like as a limited product in and of itself, it was really fun. Gameplay wise. And the next set that released was Edge of Eternities. And Edge of Eternities is my favorite set of the year, because it hits everything in terms of what I want from Magic the Gathering, in terms of having a narrative and world building that I'm just seeing as shadows on the wall through the cards. Because I don't care enough about the Magic story to like read it, but I do like a cohesive world thing that is being shared to me that I'm like seeing through windows of a train passing, zooming by. That's where the peak of where I like Magic Story, and it's a thing that they've really hadn't done in a while. They've been dropping the ball with, like, and it's not a thing Final Fantasy does at all, because Final Fantasy is just pulling random stuff from the breadth of Final Fantasy, which is a bunch of different stories. Some might even say 16 plus. So that didn't do it for me in that way, but Edge of Eternities did. And so I went to a paper Edge of Eternities pre-release, had a lot of fun. Made some poor deck building choices, won some games, lost some games, fun times. And that set was really cool, and that set has had a lot of fun cards. Warp is a super sick mechanic. I wish there were. I kind of wish there were more warp cards, but the warp cards that we have are really strong. So don't know that we necessarily need more. Yeah, and that was I would say it didn't have as big an impact as maybe I wanted it to for deck feel on stuff. But it was still a solid set. Then we had Spider-Man, and honestly, like, just the end of the year was just really crowded between Final Fantasy, Edge of Eternities, into Spider-Man, into Avatar. Like, it was a little less bad on. Well, no. It was just crowded. Like, at least we don't get alchemy sets with the Universes Beyond sets. That eased off, but then they dropped a fucking nuke on us with the cards they added for other reasons with Arena Anthologies and the Cube cards. Which were, those are much more impactful in the format. So Spider-Man, the thing is, everyone shits on that set. And I didn't do any of the limited, but it seemed like the limited environment just sucked. It was just really bad. Because it's and my, high level view on it is it's in the lineage of Assassin's Creed and March of the Machine Aftermath, of these, when they were trying to do, they had this pipeline and this idea of doing smaller set releases. And there was also like this period where they were like adding a jump start onto like every set, where they were just creating these products that just didn't have enough cards in them. And as a result, they were just friggin' ass to do anything with, whether or not there were any interesting cards in them. And I think all those products have had, one or two at least. Like, they've had some interesting cards. Magic designers are friggin' good at this stuff. Somehow one card always slips out as that card's actually sick. But that happened. The art is like pretty generic. It has the Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the hat set problem of just this product has too many legendary creatures in it. And it's hard to fucking, do anything with that in a small environment. They're like, it's so commander coded, but also you're putting it into standard, so these cards aren't like broken enough to be the best commanders in the world either. There's just like, we have so many legendary creatures now for every freaking color that there's just diminishing returns on getting any new ones. Like, one of the reasons Commander is not an exciting format to me is, like, a new Commander is not a new card that's a Commander. Like, when was the last time I was excited about that? It just doesn't fucking happen. If anything, because, like, a new powerful Commander is, like, gauche. Like, oh, that's it. So many people are gonna be on that because that format's so popular that, like, I don't want to play that. It's like one of the reasons I don't like watching Commander content, because if I see a cool deck in a Commander video that's, game night, if I see something on game nights, I'm like, I'm not just gonna fucking be the guy who just replace the thing I saw on game nights. Like, I feel bad enough about that with my Bear deck, which showed up on game nights after I built it. And I wasn't into. I think that deck does stem from a loading ready run joke of Bear Force 1 that I didn't know when I built it. I built it because I saw a deck list on the internet, kind of. It had that name. And then they printed a EULA, and that deck actually got pretty good. So, that's a thing. I think I did. I think I didn't build it in paper. I don't remember. I might have not built in paper till after that Game Nights episode. But I feel, like, part of Commander is, like, finding a deck that expresses your individuality. So I do try to find deck commanders that are not the most played when I'm picking a thing at this point. So, I don't know. It's not like my go-to one is that old. It's from Battle of Baldur's Gate, which is, in the last 5 years. What was that set? Wiki. Because I like that Jahira card. 2022. So that's like 4 years old at this point. 3.5. But yeah. Whatever. It's a Spider-Man. And there's the whole thing of, like, the Spider-Man part of it not coming to Arena. So we have all these off-brand through the Omen Pass cards, which ultimately just feels backwards from where the community's at. Because I feel like it's the paper players who hate Universes Beyond the most and would much prefer if their set was in universe compared to, like, Arena players who are more who are the people who are willing to engage with a product that has alchemy cards and aren't increasingly annoying about the existence of those. Or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. And it's just a bad. It just kind of feels embarrassing on Magic's part that they can put these big Spider-Man cards on Arena. But I mean, everyone fucking hated that set, but it sold fine. It didn't sell as well as Final Fantasy, which, like, is the best-selling Magic set of all time by, like, magnitudes. But that's not a metric I care about. Anyway, like, Spider-Man just sold really well, but the community fucking hates it. Probably isn't a good enough trade-off. But also just seemed like it was undercooked. It was so undercooked. But also, I'm way softer on that set because that set has plenty of cards that are fun to play with. Like, if you can get past all of that shit and play with those cards, and let me tell you, Pyolander, Pioneer legality, in Pioneer legality only, Singleton on Arena, those cards are all great. there are loads of cards that are playable in that set because you could build a great humans deck, which is my that shit's very, very fun. So I have a real soft spot for those cards because playing them in that format. So it's very funny. I have a much more positive feeling about Spider-Man, the Spider-Man set, than most people. Also, I love Spider-Man, but I wouldn't say I haven't bought any of those cards yet because I wouldn't say they hit it out of the park in terms of like appealing to me in a way that like would get me excited to buy those cards. Like, none of the I like it as like I like it like the way I like the Doctor Who thing, where when you put these things together in a pile, I find it funny to play like a bunch of them. Individually, they don't super speak to me in like a way that's like meaningful. Like, I care about the cards in which they work, and my association with their arena version, so I always have to go like think about, who is this card? What character is on this? Oh, this card is the Jackal? That's weird. I like playing this lady who, makes slivers on her art, even though her card text has nothing to do with slivers. So yeah, it's kind of where I am with that stuff. I do want to buy those cards, pick up a bunch of those cards at some point. There's the part of me there's a collector in me that just wants to have the Venom stuff, but I'm just not. It's just not where I want to spend my dollar currently, is what I'd say. Buying cards that I'm not going to do anything to play with right now, just not that interested at the moment. So yeah. And gameplay wise, there are a handful of cards. They're good. Hide on the Ceiling, which is the paper. Why do I only remember the paper name? Because I only played it in Alchemy. That card's incredible, where you pay X and a blue, and you get to exile any number of creatures and flicker them. How do you spell ceiling? Exile 1 X and a blue instant. Exile X target artifact and or creatures. Return the exile cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the end step. That card's been a house in Gladiator. There's a Bant deck, Warpod, that on Pilot just like doing absurd shit with that card in that format, and yeah, it's just been really impressive. That's definitely been a standout to me. It's just a really cool and fun card. And also, when I realized that Cosmic Spider-Man is just friggin' a chroma, like the new Spirit of the Night, it really made me like that card more. And like, I want to play a format where that's good. Where just being a big flyer with keywords is just good. And Canadian Highlander has been the format where that has been true. I think there's some dual commander format or something where that card's good too. Because they banned everything else. Anyway, then Avatar came out, and Avatar's been much more positively received by the community. And there's some good cards, and there's art in that set that hits in a way. Like the 2-mana Mai, I think, is fucking gorgeous. The black one. Yeah, My Scornful Striker. I love the art on that card. And Wan Shi Tong has been a fucking house in like every old format that likes blue cards. And it's in standard is kind of like the defining deck of the year because it won Worlds. This Lessons deck that also used a card from Aetherdrift, the like discard engine thing, Monument to it, Monument to Endurance, yeah. The 3-mana artifact. Whenever you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, and you get to draw a card, create a treasure, or each opponent loses 3 life. Combined with all the lesson cards in and Gran in reducing the cost of stuff, so you're just churning through your deck at an absurd rate. Was like the deck of the Worlds, which was standard, which was like the moment of standard being free from the tyranny of VV from Final Fantasy, who kind of people would not shut up about how VV like ruined that format like all year, and they took them, and because they had done this new thing of only doing bans at a certain time, it took forever for them to ban it, even though everyone was like it was like a problem, clearly a problem. But then also fucking Avatar comes out and Spider-Man had like no effect on standard, and then Avatar comes around and also looks weak, but totally has like it's the synergy deck of just playing fucking Avatar cards is like really fucking good. It's very funny, although it is hilarious. It's not like one of the cool the creature card that takes off is fucking Grand, because none of the fucking rares are that good. Because here's the secret: I actually think Avatar is kind of more dog shit than Spider-Man as a set. In terms of strong cards I want to play, like in terms of rares, like I don't know. There's some. There's 3-mana Aang. There's 5-mana Aang. Like there's not nothing. But yeah, aside from like getting in standard where you can play all these lessons and it's really strong, synergy wise, it turns out, because you get to basically turn one of those lessons into an ancestral recall that you get to play 4 of. Oh, that's pretty good. And there's some stuff that goes a little less hard, and this is also good. Like the lesson stuff in 60 card decks where you can really load up on that stuff, it was pretty impactful. In Gladiator it was like Wan Shi Tong. It's like, it's a couple cards, like a normal set, and otherwise it's kind of whatever. I don't know. I don't know why I'm being negative on it. It was good. I just think people were a little I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. People are too hard on Spider-Man. People are maybe not hard enough on Avatar, but Avatar has cards that are strong. It filled out the sheet. I just don't think I think as a limited format it kind of stunk too. So, or it wasn't interesting to me. And like as a commander format, I think it's but uh again, it has some cool cards. Airbending is a very cool mechanic. Earthbending is a very cool mechanic. But it's on like one card that's any good. Like Badger Bowl Cub is sick, but other than that, and Badger Bowl Cub wasn't even like fucking everybody. It was like one of the most played cards in Worlds, and it lost. Like it was like one of those it was like one of those super overhyped cards because it just fucking lost at everything it tried to do. It was like all the commons and uncommons that fucking owned its standard from that set, which is sick, honestly. Like hell yeah. The best deck in the format is also pretty fucking cheap for standard. That's so good. Whereas I don't think I can't think of a common from fucking Spider-Man that I care about. It's just all these humans. If you're playing a humans deck, there's a bunch of interesting stuff. They're all human spiders. If we can ever get Spider Tribal off the ground, it's gonna be sick. Or Kindred or whatever. I'm old. I flub back into the old words. Ugh. Not that I want to, just that I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, that's all the sets from this year. So the thing is, easily my favorite card was from fucking Aether Drift. My favorite set was Edge of Eternities. One of my favorite decks that's outside of Gladiator. My favorite new no. A deck that I would like to own in paper because I think it would be cool is I'm excited for the new Singleton Pioneer format, which there are a bunch of it's like for a lot of people it's filling the niche that original Gladiator was intended to fill for them. That's why Ben Wheeler's creating it to try and fill a particular niche that I'm not that super interested in. Of lower power level Singleton on Arena. That's not exactly the draw for me. What is the draw for me is it's a format where you, at the byproduct of that lower power level, it is a format where a bunch of cards that have not been able to find their niche, like a lot of the Spider-Man cards in other formats, can really feel an impact. And I think that's cool. I think that's the most exciting to me about a new format to play is getting to play with cards that otherwise I wouldn't be able to play with. Why is this card pool interesting? Oh, because it has these cards. That's where you get excited, right? Oh God. I said the formation of saying a thing and then saying right afterwards. It's a nitpick of mine. I've listened to too many people do it. I'm like, you don't need to say either I agree with you or I don't agree with you. I think Max does it. Maximilian Dude does it all the time. You don't get to decide that I agree with you just because you say a thing. But yeah, so eventually I'm excited for Pioneer Highlander to have its own Discord because I think that is a format that has a lot of room to grow. Right now it is only in Ben Wheeler's Discord, and it's just not that many people. It's interesting because him and Loading Ready Run are such a big part of the popularity of Gladiator spreading. So key to the growth of that format. And he quit it basically like at the beginning of the year or something because he just wasn't enjoying it anymore, which fair enough. Which does, I think, hurt Gladiator's ability to grow because it loses its number one content creator. But Ben Wheeler's Twitch stream is not that popular, if we're being real. I think the bigger thing was when they would do events on Loading Ready Run because of that, and it was much more likely to happen. Ben Wheeler is part of determining what events are running, and also other members of Loading Ready Run like Nelson also fell off of Gladiator for just not enjoying it as it's changed. So that hurts the ability of it to spread. But where Gladiator is currently is a bigger, it has its own momentum, its own power. The idea of Singleton with all the cards on Arena is a thing that well predates Gladiator as a name. Like, me and Ben were fucking playing Arena Singleton like before that game came out. I have video on my before that game 1.0, I have video on my YouTube that I shared on the Discord once because I think it's neat. Like, that idea goes back, and it was so funny because when we were doing that back then, I was like, man, I just wish you could play with a commander. And part of that is because back then the card quality was so much lower that you wanted that, I just wish I had an engine to get going, and you just don't need that anymore. So Brawl is less interesting to me. It's interesting how those things shift for what I want out of the card pool that's available because of how strong it is or whatever. What's in it. Times change. But yeah, let's talk about some other formats. So I talked about Highlander. So Highlander's just starting out. I will go in there occasionally and try and find games, but you're pulling from it's harder to find games of that than it is to find games of Gladiator. It's a smaller format still, but because you can play it in paper and on Arena, I think its potential for long-term growth is really high. There was which I think is part of why Wheeler's excited about it. I like for a content creator to be able to go and bring decks of that format to Magic Cons to play with fans, seems really big. Like, the fact that you can't play Gladiator in paper, you'll never be able to play Gladiator in paper, is a big deal for that kind of thing. So I understand that. But, as someone who's just playing on Arena every week, that's not important to me. I like playing Magic the Gathering on Arena. I want to do that every week. And I think the most fun is Gladiator. Period. But I do like the idea of having a Pioneer Singleton deck. That card pool's appealing. Those cards are in a good price range, I would say, where such a thing could be acquired. You know. The fact that everybody hates that Spider-Man set is or whatever. Like, it just wasn't as popular as Final Fantasy. It means those cards are more affordable, at least last time I checked. They're not, tearing down Eternal formats. Where am I going with this? Yeah. So that's interesting. So I'm pulled to that. The other format on Arena that I am intrigued by, that I think has more potential, is Artisan Gladiator, which is just commons and uncommons. And the reason you do that instead of Pauper on Arena is because common and uncommon wildcards, if you engaged with Arena and play it regularly, you will get those wildcards at a much larger rate than rares and mythics. So it's much easier to build out decks, multiple decks. So it's much more accessible to Arena players. If you're coming in cold, it's still pretty rough. If you're not playing a lot of Arena anyway. So it doesn't have the kind of, paper player, broader appeal of a Pioneer Highlander, I'll actually say. Because in paper, dog shit rares that nobody cares about in any competitive format is much more accessible than, is actually more accessible than having a rare wild card at that point. The thing with the Arena economy is the most expensive cards are much cheaper than the economy's all flattened. The wild card thing flattens the economy, so it's not like this one card is absurd. VV is absurd in paper or whatever when it was in standard. On Arena, that's as good as anything, but it means playing dog shit is a much worse proposition because that shit's just as expensive as playing something good. So you're taxed in that way, and it's frustrating when you just want to have fun, build something neat or whatever. It's why it's a big appeal of Singleton. Singleton makes the economy of Arena much more palatable to me, I will say. Anyway, so yeah, Artisan Gladiator, I think, has a lot of, and they're in the Discord as of this recording. Signups are probably, by the time you're hearing this, signups are like just about to end for a async league playing Artisan Gladiator. So people have been brewing. I shared like 8 deck lists in the Discord to help people build their decks, because ultimately I don't think my 8 decks are actually that good compared to the stuff I've seen people brewing, but I know that brewing from zero is so much harder than when you have a reference. And it's one of those things with a smaller format that doesn't have the breadth of deck list resources that even a Canadian Highlander, but certainly, Standard and Pioneer, any official Commander especially, where you give deck lists to look at and see cards that are cool, that people are playing with and having success with, and are the good cards to play or whatever. But like something like Artisan Gladiator, where there's no website resource, that's very daunting. We haven't had an event yet, so there's not even a place to go for stock resources. So I supplied basically 8 stock lists for people to work off of, and that felt rewarding. Like I put in the work to build those decks from scratch. Even if they're not that good, they will point people in directions and help them get started or whatever. I think it's helpful, and I feel good about it. right now it seems like Aristocrats is fucking cracked. So that's a lot of what I saw people playing. Beats up the shit of anything I brewed up before playing against that. Although, no, I did beat it with Gruul. I think my mom, no, I beat it with Mono Red. Turns out Mono Red still fucking good. Not my favorite to play, but it's well, in my heart, there's a little Mono Red goblin who loves some Mono Red. So anything I say against it is with much respect and love. Even if it's my mortal enemy in some ways. Because it just kills you. And then you don't get to have the fun of doing bullshit. Because it's... Anyway. Yeah, so Artisan Gladiator, I'm excited for this upcoming year. Pioneer Highlander, I'm excited to see that grow. Gladiator, I'm excited to play it. I'm long-term nervous about its ability to grow without any major content creator attached to it. But it's not like I need it to grow. I just would like I want to be able to play the format. So if people who have played it can't play it as much anymore for whatever reason, I would like enough new people coming to it that I can keep playing. That's what I care about. And I think short term it's fine, but well, I'm pretty shook by when we had to cancel an event. That sucked. No good. I hope other people are also excited to play Gladiator in 2025. Even as some of the players have denounced it forever. And some people are really sick of or just never want to play with whatchamacallit, alchemy cards. Yes. But also that with the stuff we're getting, so the release I didn't talk about are the cube cards and the getting friggin' Pyrogoyf and what's the Goyf? Barogoyf. They just dropped the friggin' out of nowhere with no warning. They dropped a nuke on Gladiator. Really, they were dropping a nuke on Brawl. I'm just really getting a lot of the most recent powerful cards onto Arena because they finally did a thing that I've been thinking about for a year, at least. I actually built a list of cards that they would need to program for Arena to be able to do on Arena, which is Vintage Cube. And they finally did it, and it was sick. It was some of the most fun I've had with Arena this year was in the Gladiator Discord, hanging out and backseating other people's drafts. And giving them advice and telling them, you should have done this thing that you didn't do or whatever. Also I played it myself and had a bunch of success too. That was also fun, but really hanging out on Discord calls, watching other people's gameplay was really the most fun. And it's kind of the thing where being a part of a community, that's where I really felt it the most of kind of knowing most of these people from, playing them in Gladiator without really talking to them. And then really the most time I spent in any call with anybody was watching these fucking drafts of Power Cube. And it was so fun. that's really my. If I had to say any top tier experience with Magic the Gathering in the past year, that's probably it. Is hanging out on Discord calls, watching private streams, or people just streaming into Discord of their current draft, looking for advice. That shit was so fun. You just watch someone make a incredible greed play and go, I don't know if I would have drafted Barrowglyph in my 4-color no black deck. You know, I don't think it couldn't be me. But you live your best life. Live your greed. Yeah, that's the standout experience to me. It was actually limited for once. Vintage Cube is sick. And I have a whole podcast about trying to sell Ben on Vintage Cube. And we had a Magic podcast scheduled, but just, recording time being what it is, we haven't had any time to record, and probably won't until he's got a window where we might be able to binge record a bunch of stuff for next year. Other formats. Let's talk about stuff I liked to watch. Ways in which I like to watch Magic the Gathering. I've mentioned Ben Wheeler's stream. I mentioned Loading Ready Run. And also throw out LTG MTG, which is a YouTube channel of Canadian Highlander folks who Trenton had cast a bunch of the year-end Canadian Highlander events on Loading Ready Run, which is where I knew him from. And that's been between that and North 100 Showdown. That's really makes Canadian Highlander a thing I care about, even though I still haven't played Canadian Highlander fucking once. But it is a format I think about, and it is a format I really enjoy watching in a vacuum where, and a big part of it is a lot of my old favorite constructed format to watch really was Vintage. But my favorite platform and content for watching Vintage just doesn't exist anymore. I loved it hasn't existed for like 5+ years, 6+ years now. So that ship's like beyond sailed. Of Randy Bueller casting any Magic Gathering, because Randy Bueller, who famously won a Pro Tour with Necropotence, worked at Wizards, designed a bunch of sets. But he he was the face of the thing, along with Athena, which is really the reason it ended. Is the person who ran production. Athena behind the scenes went to work at Wizards and then didn't have time to do it anymore. Or whatever. And Randy basically retired from doing any commentary on Magic stuff either. Because he would also do Eternal Weekend for Vintage. And Eternal Weekend has not been the same for me since Randy stopped doing the coverage. It's not had the same appeal that it used to. Unfortunately. And this past 2 years where it's come back, there was one year where it was like really low key, and they got Menendian and what's his code name? I can't remember his podcast co-host, Kevin Cron, who I really like listening to talk about Magic. I actually like Kevin, the way he talks about Magic even more than Menendian. And they used to be in the Vintage Super League, and Vintage Super League would like cycle through to give everyone who played in it an opportunity to also commentate, though some of them were better than others. And Kevin was one of the best, and he did Eternal Weekend. Him and Mendy did Eternal Weekend when it was like really low budget. But now they've gotten more production, but the commentary just hasn't been as good. And it's been a real bummer for me. And the other thing is that the only other source I watch for vintage content is Justin Gennari. I am actually level 1. I watch a lot because I just crave vintage content. But I don't love watching Justin because he will tilt out and get mad, like salt out in ways that I just don't enjoy. Like he's all about, on one level, he's all about getting the data and finding out what's the best thing and saying, so many things are possible, although also some decks that are widely played, say are bad. But then as a player, he actually only really likes playing vintage in certain ways. He's way more limited in what he enjoys playing than what he sleeves up to play for videos. And it makes the videos worse because he'll like start losing in round 1 and just completely tilt out about how much he hates his deck. And it's just, I don't enjoy it. I'm sure some people find it funny or whatever. But I will often skip ahead to videos to see what his record is, to see if I actually want to watch all of the games, because like I've gotten sick of the way he gets mad about it at his own deck choice. Because like if it were up to him, he would probably just play the same deck every week, and that also is not like the most interesting. One of the things that was the best about Vintage Super League as like a thing to watch all the time is they would have interesting restrictions, deck building restrictions often, that would increase the variety. I'm thinking mainly of like the Team Super League season where, you would have 3 people on a team, I think. And you could bring 3 decks, but they could only have so many cards overlap. And it led to some interesting stuff of people brewing and doing interesting stuff, like the week where they got Matt Nass to brew up 3 different dredge decks that they were all different because they could only have so many overlapping cards. You just get weird stuff. And I don't have enough weird vintage in my life that's enjoyable because the only times I'm seeing someone bring weird stuff, he's playing against like Dredge and tilting out about it because he's playing in vintage leagues where people are just grinding the same meta decks over and over again or whatever, except when the meta shifts slightly. So it just hasn't been as fun, and I've been getting a lot more joy out of watching Canadian Highlander content that's showing off all kinds of different stuff, because North 100 Showdown is showing the breadth of what's possible in the format, not focusing as much on just grinding with the best decks, because it's a casual competitive format. The having fun is like more important. Like you're definitely always trying to win, but also expressing yourself through deck building and gameplay choices, like what play patterns you like, is enough of a part of the point of the thing. And there is enough variance and not as much, consistency that you can get away with doing stuff like that. Like the power level, it varies enough that you can, still have enough success, win enough games to keep it fun or whatever. And casual competitive gaming is what I'm all about. I'm about the CCG. I think that's the sweet spot where I have the most fun. Anyway, I've talked for almost 2 hours about Magic the Gathering because I can talk about this shit all fucking day. I could keep going. I'm not stopping because I ran out of stuff to say. I'm stopping because this podcast is now an absurd length to listen to one person talk straight. Jesus fucking Christ. Oops. If you're still listening to this, thank you. I can't believe you're not sick of me. Are you real? Do you exist? Throw out a comment if you made it to the end of this episode. And maybe I'll do it again. Anyway, that's 2025. I'm looking forward to 2026 for Magic the Gathering reasons. I'm nervous about how many standard sets we're getting. 6 is too many. I don't like that. When they announced how many standard sets they were putting out this year, I was actively angry. Because I think it's too many. I think you don't leave the sets enough that are good, enough room for people to enjoy them properly and become attached to them and have a memory of, like, a distinct memory of them and an attachment to them in the same way if they're fucking on top of each other. And also the way that the preview cycle works on some of these Universes Beyond things, where they have to reveal all the cards at Comic-Con for 2 sets away from now or whatever. It's annoying. It's just annoying. Like, we got all those Marvel previews and we still haven't gotten Lorwyn previews at the same level. And Lorwyn's the set that's coming out soon. But whatever. Lorwyn looks fucking sick. I'm excited for the Ninja Turtles set. I don't know. What am I nervous about? The Marvel set looks, hopefully it'll go over better than Spider-Man. But I don't even know if I want it to go over better than Spider-Man. I don't want any set to be as I don't want it. I don't know. Like, I don't want infinite growth for Magic the Gathering. I don't want this shit to get, like, or do better than Final Fantasy did or whatever. Like, I would be fine if they fucking chilled out. Like, we just don't fucking need that many new cards, dude. There's a certain number of cards we need every year, and they're fucking overdoing it. And so, I don't know. You get something like Avatar happens, and it's like, I love that show, and I love Magic the Gathering, and also Spider-Man. Like, I love these properties, and I'm like, I'm not over the moon about these Magic the Gathering cards you're offering to me. You didn't nail it in some of these cases. To which I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's still a fun game that I engage with. But the business of it is capitalism's bad. That's a lesson. Peace. Shit, I forgot to talk about the unbans in Gladiator. They've been great. It's been very fun. Most of the thing, there are only like 7 cards left on the ban list. They mostly were unbanned. It's been fine. Maybe the power level of that format with all the new cards that got added, it's super high. Red is still really, really fucking good at killing you with Broadside Bombardiers and Gut now. So I forgot to mention that, like, half the ban list got unbanned and it was fine. All those 4 mana things, those bans that I didn't think were made any sense, they're off the ban list. Solitude's back. God is Old is back. It's fine. The format's fucking crazy, and it's pretty exciting and cool. Peace.